friends, welcome to Her Home and Harvest. Today we are doing a long promised video of turning these tomatillos into salsa verde. These are all of the tomatillos that I got out of the garden and put in the freezer over the summer. I am using a recipe I've never used before because depending on how much I get, my hope is to be able to can this. So I am using a recipe off of Ball's website for a roasted tomatillo salsa. We're gonna roast them in the oven for 15 minutes with the garlic, and then we're gonna take the garlic out and roast them for another 15 minutes according to the recipe. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is weigh out or measure out our tomatillos to see how many we have, to see if we need to double or triple this recipe. It's 3 pounds, it's 5 pounds, 8 pounds. After I weighed out everything, it looks like we have enough for 2 recipes worth. Let's get these started, and then we've got to go grab the peppers, and then we'll come back in and prep everything to get into the second batch. Okay, so we're back from the garden. I got peppers. It only calls for 4. I grabbed 5 though because, I mean, these are tiny. So, but I'm gonna wash these up real fast because my hands were covered in dirt when I got these. So let's wash them. The recipe says to just put these on the baking sheet whole, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. The onions need to be cut into wedges. I am gonna roast the garlic separately in a little boat, and that way I can just pull this out because you're only supposed to roast the garlic for 15 minutes, whereas everything else gets roasted for 30. Boy, those onions were strong. Okay, I think I can make this fit on here. Now I gotta get this water boiling. I did end up broiling the tomatillos. They're still in there broiling because after 30 minutes, they're clearly cooked, but I think because they were frozen and so much liquid was being released that they did not char at all. And you want that kind of like charred top a little bit. So I'm just broiling them maybe 5-10 minutes tops, and then we'll get the next set in, but slight change in plans. This top one is good to come out. We're gonna broil that for 5 minutes now. While we're waiting for the rest of the tomatillos and the peppers to brown, these ones browned a little bit under the broiler, I'm gonna get the canner started. I need to fill this about halfway. And this is a pressure canner. I'm not pressure canning. Okay, these brown. I probably like a little more, but I don't have time for that. And now we're gonna get the next batch in the oven. I've got our garlic right in the front so that I can just pull it right out in 15 minutes. All right, so we're just gonna take the garlic out. All right, 2 hands. We need 2 hands. Shake them onions around a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and move them up onto the same shelf. While the second batch finishes up in the oven, I'm gonna go ahead and get this stuff started in the blender, and then once everything's blended up, I'm gonna start filling it up in here. And so since I'm gonna have to do that in batches, I figured that's gonna take some time, so let's go ahead and do that now. They're cool enough to touch now. Actually, I'm just gonna pick them up then. My hands are washed. All right, we're gonna get these blended up and into the pot. Okay, so the recipe says to not put the cilantro in the blender, and I thought that's what we were gonna do, and it had it chopped like this. So I'm just gonna go ahead and chop it up really fine. There's only 2 minutes, though I'm probably gonna do a little longer, left on the timer for the last batch roasting in the oven. So we're gonna go ahead and let that. You guys, this is way too hard. I'm just throwing it in the blender. To get it as tiny as I like it in Salsa Verde, I'm just gonna stick it in the blender. So, okay, while we are waiting for those to come out of the oven though, I wanna finish prepping everything that has to go in because I only have like 20-30 minutes of time left to prep. This recipe in particular calls for a half a cup of lime juice. We're doubling it, so we need a cup of lime juice. Now I need 4 teaspoons of salt and 2 teaspoons of pepper. This recipe doesn't call for any cumin, which I think is weird. So, so I might add some. We're gonna give it a taste test before we make that decision. But yeah, we'll find it. 4. And we need 2 teaspoons of black pepper. Okay. Everything else we're gonna blend up in the blender and then pour in. All you have to do is bring this to a simmer and then you're ready to put it in jars. I prepared way more jars than I know that I'll need, but that's fine. All right, I bet you this is ready to be pulled out of the oven. Yep. I'm not gonna stick these straight into the blender because I'll probably burn myself. So I'm gonna finish getting everything ready while I let those cool at least just a little bit. I need to take these seeds out of these peppers and cut the stems off. I knew I forgot something. And we're gonna just chuck them right in here once that's ready. And all of the tomatillos in this recipe, all of the cilantro, and all of the peppers came from my garden. So if you've been watching throughout the summer, you've seen me harvest those and grow those. This is really exciting to be able to use them like this. So I've got almost everything in this recipe. I mean, definitely the bulk of it is homegrown. So let's go ahead and get these in here. Woohoo! Yeah, those are hot. Okay, it's too hot to do by hand. I need a spatula. We need to hurry though in the blender. Okay, I want to give this a try because I've never tried this recipe and I think it needs cumin. Oh, woo, salty. I must have not stirred that well enough. All right, let me try this again. Maybe I just didn't stir it well enough. I do think it needs something. Man, it needs garlic too. It does not need salt. I'm gonna try a little garlic powder. And so that's like a half a teaspoon of garlic powder. Well, that already smells better. And we'll see if I need to add the cumin or not. I'm getting a new spoon each time, don't worry. Oh, that's so much better. Just with that little bit of garlic powder. Still gonna add the cumin. Just like a tiny bit. I don't have as much experience canning as other people, but from what I've read, it's okay to go ahead and add seasonings like that. I hope I didn't just ruin this. But if you have any experience, let me know. If you know, let me know if you have heard or read anywhere that you shouldn't add seasonings. Like, I don't think it matters if you add extra salt. I know you don't want to mess with like the body of the ingredients, so you don't want to, like, I wouldn't want to change the amount of onions in there. I wouldn't want to change the amount of peppers, but oh yeah. better. I'm gonna add a tiny bit more garlic powder. I don't know where I put my measure, so I'm just gonna throw that in there. Okay, well, this is trying to simmer. I think that's good. That was like 3/4 teaspoon of garlic powder and cumin that we added, and I think that really did it. So I'm just gonna get this up to simmering, and then we'll get our jars filled and ready to start canning. I'm just gonna put a little bit in each jar to start, because these jars aren't really warm anymore. Okay, so I'm gonna take just a damp paper towel and make sure nothing's on the rims, because I have a tendency to spill. At the same time, just triple checking that there are no nicks. That's what's gonna help me make sure I get seals on all of these, because if there's food, then it might not seal, and if there's a nick, then it might not seal. It also might crack. So, okay, let's get them in the canner. I'm gonna start, I always do that backwards. I'm gonna start with the big ones because I'm not sure if they're all gonna fit. Okay, so I'm gonna get this up to a vigorous boil, and then process that for 20 minutes, and then we'll come back to pull them out, and then tomorrow it looks like we'll be making salsa verde. Tomorrow we'll be making enchiladas. Okay, so I boiled these for 20 minutes, and looking in, everything looks fine. There's nothing exploded in there, so we're doing good so far. I turned off the heat, waited 5 minutes, and now we're gonna take these out. I just have a cutting board I'm gonna stick them on top of with a towel so they don't crack my counters. And yeah, we're gonna let them sit overnight. Okay, so that's it. We've got our 4 pint and 4 8-ounce jars and the extra cup in the fridge. We're just gonna let these sit right here for 24 hours, and we're gonna come back tomorrow, and I'll see if we end up getting to make the enchiladas together, but I'll show you what those look like. All right, we are back in the kitchen. It's the next day. I didn't get to make the enchiladas last night, so we're gonna go ahead and throw them together today. I had set aside the salsa verde from yesterday for this recipe, but my husband tried it and really liked it, and he ate everything I set aside. So we're actually gonna use a full pint for this recipe. And these jars, I need to go over there and I need to double check that they all sealed properly, but a few of them did seep a little bit. So some of the salsa siphoned out, but that should be okay as long as they sealed. So we're gonna check them, because if anything didn't seal, we're gonna go ahead and use that in this recipe. I used up all my cilantro from the garden, and so I had to go buy some. But other than that, you just need tortillas. The recipe calls for corn or flour, so because it's a new recipe, I got both. You need cheese, sour cream, chicken, cilantro, and then I'm adding to this recipe black beans and corn. You also need garlic. Let me look at this recipe. Yeah, you need garlic, so I need to grab some of that. And I'm finding it very odd that you don't need onions, because I also like to add onions to mine. So I might add an onion to it. Okay, so first thing, we're gonna take all of the lids off. Yeah, this is the one that really seeped quite a bit. I'm trying to see if I can just like gently pull the lid off, and I can't. So it seems to be sealed. I think I had the water boiling too hot. Well, this one's fine. While they were processing, because I was distracted by my daughter. But yeah, it looks like they all actually seeped a little bit. So we really got to check these seals really carefully. If you can see that inside the ring. Nah. I am going to have to clean these jars now though. And you can see there's almost no headspace left. So I definitely think I overboiled these, which is really unfortunate. I'm gonna go wipe them all down, and then we'll label them, and then I'm not gonna wipe this one because we're just gonna go ahead and use this one in the recipe. This is just a learning experience. I will get better at this over time. Okay, so we're gonna prep all of our ingredients and then head over to the stove, because you need to saute some of the items before You assemble everything. I probably should preheat the oven too. Oh, and I almost always forget. I store my cast iron in my oven. And I also keep my pizza stone in there. It calls for 2 cloves of garlic, and I'm adding 4 because more is better. I really like garlic. So does my husband. It's okay. We've got way more garlic than we need. Now let's work on the onion. I chopped the onion pretty finely because I don't want big chunks of onion in this. I need a 1/2 cup of sour cream, 2 cups of shredded chicken. Not quite following this recipe because I'm pretty sure this is closer to 3, but that's what I have. And then I need a cup of shredded cheese, which I don't know how much is in here because I used some already. First, let's just get this started on the stove. So we're just gonna throw our garlic and onions on the stove with some oil, and then we're gonna chuck in the salsa verde and just heat that up, and then we'll mix everything else together once that's done. We're gonna use a little bit of avocado oil, just a little. All right, the oil's hot, so in goes the garlic and the onions. Oh, and my cutting board is not dirty, it is stained. I just wanted to point that out. We're gonna need to add in our salsa verde. See, that was a good seal. I don't know if you heard that. Okay, so the garlic is starting to turn color, so I wanna go ahead and get this cooking before the garlic burns. My oven's preheated, so we're ready to start assembling once we put all these ingredients together. Okay, my camera stopped recording, so I don't know where I stopped, but I've finished the mixture, added everything in, added the cheese. I set aside a cup of the salsa mixture to pour over the top before I added the cheese in. So then I added in a cup of cheese and 2 cups of chicken. We're stirring this together. This is where you would normally stop, but I'm not going to. I'm going to add in, I don't know, like a 1/2 cup of corn, and then about a cup of beans. We're gonna stir this all together. That looks so much better to me with the beans and the corn in it. I decided I am going to open another can. So I just picked one that looked like it had the most seepage. Not a pint, just a 1/2 pint. They're sealed really good. But because when splitting it between the 3 of these, I don't think I'm gonna have enough to coat the bottom of each pan. So I'm just gonna go ahead and use this for that. I'm gonna start with the flour tortillas. We're just basically gonna spoon a good chunk of this in. Okay, we're not making a burrito, that's probably a little much. Okay, and you just kind of want to roll them and then seam side down. I maybe should have used a bigger container. It's fine. It'll be fine. But definitely only fitting 3 in that. Let's go to the corn now. In a perfect world, where you have all the time on your hands, heating these up on the stove with a little bit of oil would probably be a preferred method for warming up the tortillas. Okay, so I'm gonna take all of these and cover them with this. I know I added more, but I didn't add a ton more to this recipe. So if you're like me and you have a tendency to add stuff to recipes, I would suggest you double the filling because this is not gonna be enough. Or not the filling, the topping, like the salsa bit. So I'm just gonna spread this a little bit on all of them. And then I guess I'm gonna open one more jar. I like my enchiladas pretty saucy. Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and open it because my husband can eat whatever's left with chips because that's what he did last night. Ow! I told you guys they're sealed really well. There we go. Okay, so let's just make it so they're a little more saucy on the top. And then we're also gonna add cheese, so it's not like this is all we're gonna put on there. Just covering them with cheese, looks like I might need to shred some more. When I'm not shredding a ton of cheese, I very much prefer to use this little shredder because it fits in my dishwasher really easily. We're just adding some extra cheddar to the top. Okay, so the last thing that it says to do is cover each dish with foil. Once they're all covered in foil, you're gonna stick them in the oven for 15 minutes, pull the foil off, go for another 10 until it's bubbling. So let's get all 4 of these in the oven. I think I can get this place cleaned up in 15 minutes. We'll see.
All right, so you saw me say that I was not that impressed with the salsa, which 100% I am still looking for a new recipe, but I have to add that I had my husband try it and a few other people, and they all really liked it. And you know my husband will be honest with me, and maybe it's just preference, but I'm still looking for a new recipe.
Okay, I gotta pull the foil off the enchiladas and set the timer for another 10 minutes, and then we'll come back and finish the dishes.
I have to also add that I tried these at the end of the video and I like them but don't necessarily love them, but my family definitely did because they were all gone. All 4 pans got eaten in 2 days.
All right, they are ready to come out of the oven. Yep, they're bubbling. Cheese looks pretty melted. Much better now that we're done. We've got our 4 pans of enchiladas, our salsa verde, our dishes are all put away. Oh, gotta remember to flip that dirty now. And our counters look a lot better. Did not expect that to take me 2 days, but you know, that's life as a toddler. We did, however, finish everything, but before I finished this video, I did want to take a taste test. You guys saw me try the salsa when I was cooking it. After trying it again, after it had been done for a while, I do feel like this recipe is still a little bland. Even with me adding the extra garlic powder and the extra cumin, I'm not sure I would use this recipe again. So I'm going to try to find another recipe. Please leave me a comment in the comment section below if you know of a good canning safe recipe for salsa verde, because I do like salsa verde, but I've never tried canning it before, and this is fine, but it was a little disappointing. So, and then this recipe I'm gonna go ahead and try now and hopefully not burn my mouth, and I'll let you know how that goes. That being said about the salsa, my husband ate all of it, like everything that I had left out yesterday. It was over a cup, and he just sat down and just ate it all. So he really liked it. Let's see how this tastes, and hopefully I don't burn my mouth. This is a really big bite. This is a very big bite. It's good, but I still feel like it's a little tiny bit bland. So let me try the corn one. Oh, hot. The corn ones are way better, I think, than the flour. We'll see what my husband thinks. But all in all, I think it's a good recipe. I think the reason that it's bland is because of the salsa. All in all, I'm pretty happy that I got so much, and the enchiladas would definitely get eaten. I'm not worried about that at all. Anyway, that is it for our little tomatillo adventure. If you want to see me getting these from the garden, I'll go ahead and link some of my summer videos. I was harvesting them all summer. And yeah, stay tuned. If you want to watch more videos, please click the subscribe button, and you can follow me along as I use other things from the garden and plant more things as well. If you like this video, I'd always appreciate a thumbs up. And yeah, I can't wait to see you guys next time, and whatever it is that we're going to be doing, either out in the garden or inside with what we got in our little harvest. So anyway, thank you again for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. All right, bye.